The laughter began the moment Jack stepped off the transport shuttle. It wasn't the polite, suppressed kind. It was open, loud, unashamed. The Galactic Military Academy of Velthor Prime was home to 63 species, beings of stone, plasma, crystalline bone, and compressed gravity. Warriors who had evolved over millions of years for one singular purpose: combat. And now, standing in the middle of their grand orientation courtyard, was a human. A small human. Jack Mercer stood 5 feet 9 inches tall, weighing in at 168 pounds. By human standards, he was average. By galactic standards, he was a joke. The Croth beside him were 8 feet of dense muscle and granite gray hide. The Volani floated 3 feet above the ground, their bioelectric fields crackling visibly. Even the Seppan, considered the weakest species in the Alliance, had natural exoskeletal plating that could stop a pulse round at close range. Jack had soft skin. He had breakable bones. He had a heartbeat that could be stopped by a well-placed strike. "Is that a child?" one Croth cadet rumbled, leaning toward his companion. His translator badge rendered the words clearly. "No," his companion replied. "That is what they call a human. I read about them. Average lifespan of 80 years, top speed of approximately 12 meters per second, bone density comparable to dried clay. I do not understand why the council admitted one." Jack heard every word. He was meant to. He said nothing. He picked up his duffel bag and walked to the registration desk. His bunkmate was assigned by lottery. Her name was Emma Voss, the other human at the academy. She was taller than Jack by 2 inches, sharper in the eyes, and had the particular expression of someone who had already decided not to let anything bother her. "Heard them laughing at you outside," she said without looking up from her bunk assignment sheet. "Heard them laughing at both of us," Jack replied. Emma smiled thinly. "They haven't seen the schedule yet. Combat trials are in week 3. They think week 3 is when they humiliate us publicly. They're going to be wrong." Jack set his bag down. "How wrong?" Emma finally looked up. "The kind of wrong that gets talked about for 100 years. Week 1 was academics. Tactical theory, xenobiology, stellar cartography. Jack and Emma scored in the top 5% of their cohort. This was noticed but dismissed. The Volani scored higher, and everyone agreed that humans were merely clever, not strong. Intelligence without power was, in the galactic view, a decorative quality. Useful in administrators. Irrelevant in warriors. Week 2 was physical conditioning. This was where the laughter intensified. The Croth cadets ran the endurance course in 4 minutes flat. The Seppan completed it in 6. Jack finished in 7 minutes and 40 seconds, behind 41 other cadets. He was mocked openly at dinner that evening. A Croth named Dureth, the undisputed alpha of the cohort, champion of 3 consecutive pre-enrollment combat circuits, made a particular point of standing at Jack's table. "I watched you run today, human," Dureth said. The dining hall went quiet. "My youngling runs faster. And she is 3 years old." Scattered laughter. Jack looked up from his food. He studied Dureth the way a surgeon studies an anatomy diagram. Clinically, completely, without emotion. "How much do you weigh?" Jack asked. Dureth blinked. 412 kilograms. "And how long can you run at full sprint before your cardiovascular system forces you to slow down?" Silence. Dureth's translator flickered. "Approximately 40 seconds. I ran for 7 minutes and 40 seconds, Jack said. Without stopping, he returned to his food. "Enjoy your dinner." Dureth left without another word. The laughter was quieter after that. Not gone, but quieter. Week 3 arrived like a verdict. The combat trial arena at Velthor Prime was a massive open dome, the floor a shock-absorbent composite that could survive strikes capable of leveling small structures. The rules were simple: one-on-one bouts, submission or incapacitation, no lethal force. Each cadet would fight one assigned opponent. The results would determine combat track placement for the rest of the year. Jack's assignment was posted on the board. Cadet J. Mercer, Human/Earth, versus Cadet Dureth, Croth/Velthor 3. The arena fell silent when the matchup was read aloud. Then the silence broke into noise, disbelief, amusement, pity, and in Dureth's corner, visible satisfaction. "The Academy is doing this on purpose," Emma said quietly, standing next to Jack as he read the board. "They want to show the other species what happens when a human gets placed against a Croth champion." "I know," Jack said. "They want an example." I know. Are you going to give them one? Jack rolled his neck slowly. Something in his spine cracked with a sound like a knuckle popping. Yeah, he said. Just not the one they're expecting. The match was scheduled last. Every other bout played out first. Brutal, efficient, impressive. The Volini cadet defeated her opponent in 9 seconds using a bioelectric discharge. A Sepin warrior broke his opponent's weapon arm with a single joint lock. Durith had no bout. He was the designated showcase match, save for the end. When Jack walked into the arena, the crowd noise was a specific kind of loud. Not the roar that greeted the powerful. It was the sound of an audience preparing to witness something predetermined. A formality. A lesson. Durith stood at the center of the arena. 412 kilograms of granite muscle. His reach was nearly 3 meters. His hide could absorb impacts that would shatter a human femur. He had been fighting competitively since age 4. He had never lost. He looked at Jack the way mountains look at rain. The signal tone sounded. Durith moved fast, faster than anything that size had any right to move. His opening strike was a sweeping arm blow designed to knock Jack sideways, and end the fight in one gesture. Jack was not there. He had dropped low and moved laterally in the same instant Durith committed, reading the weight shift in Durith's hips a full half-second before the arm swung. Jack slid inside the strike's arc, his shoulder at Durith's midsection level, and drove upward. He did not try to knock Durith down. He grabbed Durith's striking arm at the wrist and elbow, rotated with his entire body using the momentum Durith himself had generated, and redirected it, hyperextending the elbow joint against its natural axis with surgical precision. The sound was not loud. It didn't need to be. Durith made a noise that his translator rendered as pure, unfiltered pain. His knees buckled. Jack stepped behind him, locked both arms around Durith's neck from behind. His legs wrapped around the Croth's torso, his entire body hanging off Durith's back like a second spine, and applied pressure to the carotid equivalent vessels running along the sides of the Croth neck. He had spent 6 months studying Croth anatomy specifically for this moment. Durith thrashed. His strength was enormous. He slammed backward into the arena wall. Jack held on. The wall cracked. Jack held on. Durith's movements became slower. His legs went uncertain. His massive hands clawed uselessly at Jack's forearms, finding no purchase on the angle of the grip. 11 seconds after the match began, Durith's body went limp. Jack released him immediately, stepped back, and let the Croth slide to the floor. He checked Durith's pulse at the neck, present, strong, recovering. He stood up. The arena was completely silent. Not the silence of boredom. Not the silence of confusion. The silence of 63 species simultaneously recalibrating something fundamental about the universe. The match official stared at his timer. He looked up at Jack. He looked back at the timer. 11.3 seconds, he said into the broadcast system. His voice was very careful. Cadet Mercer wins by incapacitation. Emma was waiting at the arena exit. She handed him a water canteen without a word. Jack drank, set the canteen down, looked back at the arena where medical staff were now attending to Durith. Already conscious, already sitting up, staring at the floor with an expression that crossed all species boundaries. You studied him, Emma said. For 3 weeks, Jack confirmed. Every training session, every sparring clip in the public record. His weight distribution when he initiates an attack, his dominant striking arm, the location of his carotid analogs, the time it takes for oxygen deprivation to affect Croth motor function. And the elbow. Croth elbows hyperextend inward, not outward like most species. Everyone attacks them the wrong way. Jack paused. I attacked them the right way. Emma nodded slowly. They thought you were weak. I am weak, Jack said simply. Compared to Durith, physically, I am completely outmatched. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. He looked back at the arena one more time. But weakness isn't a death sentence. It's a design constraint. And humans, he said, are very, very good at engineering around constraints. From inside the arena, a slow sound began to build. It wasn't laughter this time. It was something else entirely. Across the galaxy, species had evolved strength, speed, resilience, and power. Humanity had evolved something quieter, the stubborn, relentless, sleepless need to figure out exactly how to win anyway. That night, the Academy's records listed Jack Mercer as the fastest decisive victory in the history of the Velther combat trials. Nobody laughed at the humans after that.